Well, I'm going to continue reading What Happens When Women Walk in Faith. And I'm sure this applies to men as well. When God is taking you on a journey and He is growing your ministry and He is slipping things into your life that you're going to have to figure out how it's all going to work out together, but recognizing at the same time that it's all about doing the will of God. So here we are in phase 3, believing. 9. A most unlikely path. Art's family loves to go camping, and I don't mean in a cushy campground with hot showers and power hookups. Oh no, they like a true wilderness, survival style of camping experience, one where you set up a tent village complete with a makeshift outhouse, a hole in the ground with plastic tarps covering 3 sides. You can imagine their horror when Art brought Princess, the nickname I have affectionately earned, to participate in the family tradition, pulling an air-conditioned pop-up camper to the remote riverside campsite. They were speechless when their peace and quiet was invaded by the roaring sound of the generator. Then the last straw was when I stepped out of the camper the first morning, having fixed my hair and makeup. Now, in my defense, I met the challenge head on, and by the way of the week, my hair dryer and makeup were things of the past. I even tried bathing in the muddy river like everyone else. I actually enjoyed communing with nature and bonding with my family as we left the modern world behind. On one of the last days of our adventure, all the kids decided to go swimming in the river. I wasn't concerned in the least, as we had all grown quite comfortable around the water. While they were splashing and laughing their afternoon away, I sat on the bank, delighting in my kids having such a good time with their cousins. Suddenly, something strange caught the corner of my eye. Something was floating on top of the water a short distance from the kids. It appeared to be a stick. There were lots of sticks and other natural debris in and on the water, so I brushed it aside. A few seconds later, a question flashed through my mind. Was it floating or swimming? Sticks don't swim on top of the water. Snakes do. I gasped as one of my worst fears was making its way toward my children. I knew I couldn't panic, so I calmly got all the kids' attention. I told them sternly that it was very important for them to listen to my voice and do exactly as I directed. They needed to get out of the water quickly, but this wouldn't be possible going the normal route toward me. The embankment I was on was too steep, and only one child could slowly climb up at a time. They had to swim across the narrow river to the sandy beach on the other side. Then all the kids could get out of the water quickly, and the men could get the boat between the children and the snake. I didn't want to know about the snake and have them panic, so I just said it was very important to do as I was instructing, and they would have a surprise on the other side. The thought of a surprise was all the motivation they needed, as they calmly but quickly did exactly as they were told. When the men got to the stick-like creature, they confirmed it was indeed a poisonous snake. Yes, the kids certainly got a big surprise as they realized why it had been so important to make it out of the water, just as I had told them to. Too real to deny. Life is a lot like that snake experience. God knows the best routes for us. He sees dangers and temptations that we don't see along the way. Sometimes we get frustrated with God when He takes us through places we hadn't planned on going. His route sometimes appears to be out of the way, inconvenient, tiresome, and confusing. But we must recognize His voice, listen carefully, and do exactly as He instructs. My kids did this because they knew me, trusted me, and had been conditioned to obey me. We must trust God in the same way. When you when you leave the famine phase, you enter into this wonderful new place of believing God like never before. You've always wanted to believe Him and His promises, and now that you've left your comfort zone and pressed through the pains of the famine, He's become too real to deny. The longer we walk with God, the more easily we hear His voice and trust His instructions. Throughout Scripture, God calls His people sheep and refers to Himself as the Good Shepherd. Philip Keller makes this note in his classic book, A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23. In the Christian's life, there is no substitute for the keen awareness of my shepherd is nearby. There is nothing like Christ present to dispel the fear, the panic, the terror of the unknown. We live a most uncertain life. Any hour could bring disaster, danger, and distress from unknown quarters. Then in the midst of our misfortunes, there suddenly comes the awareness that He, the Christ, the Good Shepherd, is there. It makes all the difference. His presence in the picture throws a different light on the whole scene. Suddenly things are not half so black nor nearly terrifying. The outlook changes and there is hope. It is the knowledge that my master, my friend, my owner has things under control, even when they appear cal- cal- calamitous, like calamity. This gives me great consolation, repose, and rest. God will help you want to obey. He will help you want to obey. Every day the Good Shepherd asked, "Do you trust me? Do you believe me? Will you follow my commands even when they don't make sense to you?" We sheep must give a resounding yes, laying all our own questions aside. God has probably taken you on some unlikely paths before, and you can almost be guaranteed that more lie ahead. So why not make peace with this now? Why not just confirm right out loud that you do trust God and are willing to travel the unlikely paths because you know they are His best? I challenge you to do this even if you don't feel like it. Feelings follow correct behavior.